to me, Mario.
Yeah, tell it to the judge.
Get in or get out.
You should have gone for the head. Show's over, cheapskate!
So the day is finally here, a day that honestly I didn't believe was actually going to happen until now. It is time for Mario to be execute. We close out the big anniversary, the celebration of Mario's birthday, with Mario content being actually pulled down from Nintendo's eShop. Yeah, what a big finale. You've surely seen all the memes in that surrounding this, if somehow you're not aware. This started with the Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, where these Mario Anniversary Celebration games were announced, and because this is a celebration, it needs to have a cutoff date where players can't buy them anymore. Those are the words of Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser. Okay, they're not mine. That's like a quote from him. It's a celebration, which means it has to end, I guess. We also saw a follow-up instance of this with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. A lot of people not putting as much emphasis on this, obviously. That was another fun anniversary celebration release, which means, of course, it also must be pulled down on March 31st so people can't buy it anymore. And yeah, like I said at the top, I really didn't believe this was going to happen. When this limited time deal was announced, I was like, yeah, there's no way they're actually going to go through with this. I still think these games will be back in some form. I don't think like the Mario games are gone forever from Nintendo Switch. But I thought before this March 31st date, Nintendo would announce that, they were going to like sell the games individually or something like that. So we didn't get to this point where they're just going to be pulled down and people literally can't buy these games anymore if they want to play them on their Nintendo Switch until Nintendo does something else with them. And many of you told me I should take Nintendo at their word. I'm sitting here like, nah guys, they're not this terrible. They're not going to pull digital games down from their store that cost them like nothing to just keep up there. And yeah, a lot of you were like, no, ChiGuy, they really are that terrible. It sucks because this doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for this except for, of course, one awful, greedy-ass reason. Because yeah, I get stopping production on physical copies, okay? Making that sort of a limited time deal, that's what I think they could have and should have done, and there wouldn't be much issue like, oh, the physical release is only going to be produced until March 31st. As a lot goes into not just printing physical copies, but also keeping them on store shelves. And I get that this has been done in the past with anniversary type releases, okay guys? That's all the defenders of this, that's like the only excuse they have, like, oh, what about this anniversary game from, 10, 15 years ago that was a limited time thing? Yeah, because we didn't have a digital version. Again, if you're talking about anything physical, I get it. Technically, every physical game ever made is a limited run because they aren't printed forever. But that's supposed to be one of the big perks of digital is it's not like 3D All-Stars, the digital version, is taking up space on a shelf somewhere for them to keep it up. There's no reason to pull it down except for, as I alluded to, the greedy practice of manufacturing FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, you want these games? You better get them before March 31st or they're gone. That way, they can release something as piss poor as the 3D All-Stars collection. Yes, if you are new to the channel, I called the 3D All-Stars collection perhaps the laziest game collection I've personally ever played. Barely any real improvements to the games themselves, and virtually no bonus features, except for being able to listen to the soundtracks. Yeah, let me carry around my Nintendo Switch to listen to music. Said no one ever. They know regardless people are going to jump on this overpriced package because they don't want to possibly not be able to play these classics in the future on their Switch. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong, if you're of that mentality, if you're in that camp. I always get comments when I'm talking about, this collection, let's say, with people being like, oh, I love these games, they're great. I agree, guys. People are like, what, you don't like Mario Galaxy? No, I love Mario Galaxy. But this package is not a $60 value. I mean, when you consider what's included, and again, how these games were improved, what kind of work went into them, I mean, look at the Crash and Spyro collections that are basically remakes of 3 games packaged together and released at a cheaper price tag. This was a cash grab, plain and simple. I totally get just wanting the games, wanting to be able to play these classic Mario titles on your Switch, but in comparison to what else is out there, and the fact that this is Nintendo we're talking about here, it's not like they're short on resources. And of course, it did extremely well, and sadly, I think you can clearly point to this strategy working, as obviously, yeah, Mario always sells, and that's not surprising that a Mario game, a traditional 3D platformer, did big sales, whether it's a collection of old games, a new game, whatever. But the sales charts in these days leading up to the game getting pulled, discontinued, whatever, I think confirm, again, the strategy works, as the game saw a big spike in sales this past week, with the UK chart saying the physical sales were up 276%. And I'm sure that will continue through the end until the point where you can't find this game in stores anymore. And I'm sure you're seeing a similar thing, again, on the eShop, where people know that today's the last day to buy it. There's probably a big spike happening right now as I'm speaking. So I think things are going as planned for Nintendo here, which, yeah, pisses me off, but I'm not surprised about it either. And I assume that means we will see more of this, more anniversary type deals that have a limited time window where you can buy them. I would definitely not be surprised if we saw something like this for Zelda's anniversary, if we ever finally talk about that. Metroid, same thing. Is Metroid Prime Trilogy finally going to come out and it's going to be like, oh, but you only got, 6 months to buy it? Oh, God, I really just do not want this to be a thing, but I don't see how, after it actually happening and it being successful, it doesn't become more of a thing. Yeah, just not a good week for particularly digital game news, that's for sure, as, we just talked a couple days ago about the closure of the PlayStation stores for the PS3, PSP, and Vita. More digital games that these idiots are cutting off your access to that you can't buy digitally anymore, which actually, if I could screech about that a bit more, if I can hijack my own video for a minute, something I didn't talk about in that PlayStation Store closure video, but several of you brought up how I'm perhaps missing the biggest issue with it, which honestly, the reason I didn't talk about this is because I wasn't really aware of it until after I posted the video. A bunch of devs came out saying they were totally caught off guard by the store closure announcement. Devs who were making games to be sold in these stores, particularly on the Vita. So it's like they were making games that were set to come out maybe near or after the shutdown date, and it's like they either have to rush the games out to get them on the platform so they can get just a few sales before the stores are shut down, or they have to cancel those games entirely. Just complete bullshit. And it's like, these deals are worked out well in advance. Like, they're not making a Vita game before having a deal to put the game on the Vita with Sony. So people at Sony are making these deals like, oh yeah, make your game on Vita, it's coming holiday this year or later. Okay, no problem. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, the entire online store, did we mention this, is shutting down in a few months. Completely awful. And like I was telling someone on Twitter, even if it's like, you're putting your game on other platforms, I'm sure many people aren't making like the Vita the primary system to release their games on these days. But for a lot of these smaller dev teams, they don't have the budget to blow on working on a version of their game that they're all of a sudden not even going to be able to sell. I mean, Sony really couldn't possibly have been in a better position just like a year ago, but it's almost like they're making it a mission with crap like this, all their censorship nonsense, which has been going on for even longer, that, yeah, it feels like they want me to hate them. And Sony, if that is what you want, then keep doing exactly what you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job. I can't even talk about one of Nintendo's worst cash grabs as of late without thinking about how your operation is 10 times worse these days. That's how much you suck right now. It's that bad. But yeah, all this stuff is just demonstrating the issue with these digital marketplaces and the presumptions I guess people have about them. Like I said, being able to easily access these games is supposed to be the perk of digital. It's so easy to just, pull up the eShop on your Switch and search for whatever game you want, and it's surely going to be there, rather than having to get your fat ass off the couch and actually go to a store. Or if it is something that's a bit older, perhaps out of print, you may have to search around to try and track a copy down. But here we are, games getting pulled from these stores for no real reason, but besides, of course, again, to create this artificial fear of missing out. And in all cases, as usual, the superiority of physical is demonstrated. If it wasn't for physical versions of these games, they'd be gone forever once they're pulled from these digital storefronts, or if the stores are shut down entirely. So I hope events like what's going on this week really wake some people up as to whether this push to a all-digital future is really the way you want to go. For those of you who are down with digital, who are like, oh yeah, I buy all my games digitally, I'm totally fine if, we get to a point where digital is the only option. Pretend we are a couple of generations from now, and everything is digital. Well, looks like you can't possibly buy Mario 3D All-Stars ever again after today. You won't be able to play it unless you mod or hack your Switch. And this is better. This is progress? If you think this is really improving things, if you think this is really making things better, I think you really need to question, better for who? It's definitely not the consumers. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. I'm done screeching about this crap for now. We need to get something positive going. Maybe Monster Hunter Rise review next. Put some happy thoughts out in the universe. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments. What do you think about Nintendo pulling these games from the eShop? And along with the PlayStation Store news, how do you feel currently about this push for the all-digital future? As always, I'm the Shy Guy, Johnny Zakari, and thanks for watching.